This year is entitled, Does Yom Ha'atzmaut have more chashivut, more importance than the mitzvah of Zechirat Mizraim, commemorating the exodus of Egypt? It sounds like a preposterous question. Here we have a day that's was set up by rabbis over the last 68 years by the Rabbanut, and I can ask such a question, that maybe this day should have more importance than a mitzvah of commemorating Yetziat Mitzrayim from thousands of years ago, a mitzvah from the Torah that so many mitzvah are related to. Sounds like a extreme question. Certainly those people that don't recognize Yom Ha'atzmaut as a positive development, our holy brothers that actually mourn on such a day, and our holy brothers that are neutral on such a day. For them, certainly it's a bizarre question, but even if our holy brothers are looking at what is a positive development and it's a positive day, what does that mean? That this day should trump the mitzvah of Yetziat Mitzrayim, remembering the idea, the history of leaving Egypt, such a crucial part of our Torah? So let us analyze this topic. I must admit from the beginning I'm a bit biased, and to me every day that I'm here in Eretz Israel, 15 years I'm here already, I feel like I'm living and breathing the Geulah, the redemption. Every time I hear a crane, whether it's 6 in the morning, it's banging and banging and banging and building a new building in Eretz Israel. To me, this is not noise, it is kol dodi dofek. It is the voice of the Hashem knocking at the door, bringing the children home. Every time I see a flower, another fruit, a gorgeous color in our fields, I am just, again, feeling the Geulah. I smell the honeysuckles that are in the air at this time of the year, and I breathe it in. I'm not just breathing in a beautiful smelling honeysuckle that Hashem created anywhere in the world. I'm breathing in the Geulah. So I am very passionate about this topic. Maybe that makes me a bit nogay, a bit biased, so a person has to certainly take that into account as they listen to my analysis of the topic. But be that as it may, let's take a look and compare the concept of Yom Ha'atzmaut, commemorating the third Geulah, the third redemption of the Jewish people, and the mitzvah of Zechirat Mizraim, commemorating the first Geulah of the Jewish people when we left Egypt. So the fact is that the Ramban on the Torah writes, "HaChodesh hazeh lachem Rosh Chodashim." This is the first month. Nisan is the first month of the year. What does that mean? The Ramban writes that when the Torah talks about the first, second, third months in Sefer Breshit, for example, by the Mabul, Parsha Noah, those months, according to the Ramban, are referring to the months from Tishrei, from creation. He says that's the simple understanding. What happened after that? We had the redemption from Egypt, and then there's a new mitzvah that we count the months of the year around the cycle of Yetziat Mitzrayim. This is the third month from Yetziat Mitzrayim, the fifth month, the seventh month. And therefore, when the Torah talks about the numbers of the months, it was referring to Nisan. The second from Nisan would be Iyar. The third, Nisan, Iyar, Sivan. Because the whole year we should always be thinking about Nisan. Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim, the most powerful nation in the world, an incredible act of divine providence, and we are always commemorating that. And the Ramban writes, there's no names to the months. Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, that's not from the Torah, those names at all. Rather, it's first, second, third, fourth. We're always thinking about Nisan. This is the fifth month from that great miracle, the 10th month from that great miracle. We don't think about the month as an independent name. And Ramban says that's similar to the way the days of the week revolve around Shabbat. And there we commemorate Shabbat, where God created the world. It's the second day of the week, third day of the week since God created the world. And so too, there's the second month, fourth month, since God intervened in his natural creation, suspended the nature that he created from Shabbat. He intervened and he saved us from Mitzrayim. So we constantly have those two cycles. One cycle constantly reminding us of the creation of the world, because of the laws of nature. And then, by Mitzrayim, God intervened. And we're always remembering that. But what happened, the Ramban said in Bavel? There we did pick up names for the months. Why? Because there's a new miracle. There's a new redemption. Galut Bavel lasted, the exile to Bavel lasted 70 years. And then we were redeemed. And those names of the months that we had in Bavel, we kept them purposely to remember there's a second redemption. And we say, what's Nisan, Iyar, Sivan? What are those months? Those are the months, that's right, that we name the months during the Babylonian exile and then the redemption. So now we remember God took us out of Egypt 3,300 years ago. That was redemption. Number one, there was a second redemption. Number two, where he took us out of Bavel and brought us home again. It wasn't the most glorious of redemptions, because many Jews did not come home. The book of Ezra says 42,000 approximately Jews came home. Not a great amount. The Mikdash was not miraculous like the first one, but it was a redemption that lasted 420 years. So where does the third redemption fit in? So the Mishnah, at the end of the first parak in Brachot, writes that the famous quote we have on Pesach night, Ben Zoma, he says that we learn, Elizabeth Ben Azari, Ben Zoma, this similar idea that we know that Mitzrayim, we commemorate in the day, and I didn't know that we even commemorate it at night. There's a mitzvah to remember Mitzrayim in the day and the night. Lo zachit, I didn't know. Acha darsha Ben Zoma, and he told me darshan that Kol Yimei Chayecha teaches me at night. The Chachamim argue and say, no. Kol Yimei Chayecha teaches me that we remember Egypt during this time, and even during Yemot HaMashiach, we remember Mitzrayim as well. Then the Gemara goes on and says, and Zoma says, wait a second. As far as I understand, the pasuk is teaching me to remember Mitzrayim in the day and then again at night. And it does not teach me about remembering Mashiach. And as a matter of fact, the pasuk in Yirmiyahu says that in the future, in the Messianic era, we won't even remember Egypt at all. And therefore, the pasuk is not to teach me about remembering Egypt, but to teach in the future times, in the Messianic era, but only in this year to teach me about remember in the day and at night. The Gemara says that, what do the rabbis argue? They argue and say that I agree, the pasuk in Yirmiyahu certainly stresses the importance of remembering the Messianic era, how God brought all the Jews home. That is true, but it doesn't mean to the exclusion of remembering Egypt. Rather, the main commemoration that we're going to have in the Messianic era will be the fact that the Jews were all brought home by God, which Baruch Hashem we're seeing today. And we're going to have the Mikdash, we're going to have authority again. We will not be subjected to the kingdoms of the world. That's going to be the main commemoration. And we will also remember Egypt, but it will not be the prominent redemption that it is now. So the question is, did Ben Zoma really hold in the Messianic era the mitzvah of remembering Egypt is gone? So the Yarot Devash says, no, he didn't mean it that way, and that's not how to learn it. Just he didn't darshan it out from that pasuk the way the Chachamim did. But the Rashba says, yes, that's exactly what he held. That the mitzvah of remembering Mitzrayim will no longer be applicable in the Messianic era. While the rabbis say, no, it will still apply, just will not have the prominence that the commemoration of the Gnu, the third redemption, will have. And the Rashba explains that the new redemption will cause us to see the greatness of God. And yes, remembering Egypt is always so important. It is true. But, remembering Egypt over all the years gave us the emunah, bitachon, that just like Hashem, we were downtrodden, He took us out and He saved us. And it kept us going with the proper emunah, bitachon, hakarat hatov, faith in God and the appreciation of God, for sure. But once we get to the Messianic era, then yes, Zechirat Mizraim is very, very important. Always to remember that it's true, but now we're going to see a fuller picture in God in His greater glory even. And the Rashba points out this doesn't mean that all the mitzvot that are connected to Zechirat Mizraim, to commemoration of Egypt, will fall away. He says, not true. Matzah, maror, we still have those mitzvot. They will not stop. Just the specific mitzvah of Zechirat Mizraim that we have every day, to mention that God took us out of Egypt, we mention the morning and night, that mitzvah, according to Ben Zoma, will fall away, and the other mitzvot connected to Mitzrayim will not fall away. But in terms of the psak, how we conclude, the rabbis say, no, we will still remember Egypt, Zechirat Mizraim, but it will pale in significance to the commemoration of the third and final Gula, the third and final redemption. So now let's get back to the original question. I asked what sounds like a preposterous question. Yom Ha'atzmaut, could that possibly be more important? Remembering the third Gula, third redemption, more important than remembering Egypt? So now let's analyze this. Well, first of all, a person will challenge me. Yom Ha'atzmaut, the rabbinic holiday, commemorating the third redemption. First of all, who can make up the holiday like that? And a third redemption? Who says this is the third redemption now? Big questions. We have many shiurim on this topic that one could certainly take a look at. In the Marham All website, on the topic of religious Zionism, we have shiurim on this. But in a brief summary, the Gemara talks about in Sanhedrin that when we have the ingathering of the exiles, and when we have the fertility of the land of Israel come back, and that's the fulfillment of Yechezkel, Lamed Vav. It talks about Hashem saying, mountains of Israel, bring back your fruits, bring back your harvest, your vegetables, the produce. The fertility of the land is needed because it was barren since there were no Jews. And Eretz Israel was only for the Jews. But now the Jews are coming home, you need to be fertile again. The Gemara says when you have that combination, that's the sign of the redemption. The Brachat Shemona Esrei, Brachat Hashem Mevarech Hashanim, the bracha of the fruits in the land growing, followed by what? Tekah b'shofar, of redemption. So yes, many of us believe that these are the clear signs of the redemption. That's what we see. There's not speculation. There's not some kind of mystical connection. There seems to be a connection between what is going on in front of our eyes, the Jews coming home, 6 million Jews here, more than any other place in the world. The land is so fertile. Wherever you go, the smell of the blossoms are incredible. Every color you can imagine of fruits and vegetables you see here. And many of us do believe, yes, this is the time, the beginning of the period of the redemption, based on those signs, and some others as well. But those being the two key ones, because that's what's open in the Gemara, in Sanhedrin. And then you have, of course, the technical question of Jewish sovereignty. And what about the challenges of Jewish sovereignty? And halachically, can you make a new Chag? All needs to be looked into, for sure. And there's much analysis on this topic. Just once again, one small point is the Mishnah Brewer writes in Hilchot Purim. He writes that any time a community experiences a great Yeshua, salvation, they can make for them and all future generations in that town a Purim, their own Purim, to commemorate the great miracle. That's like a little town, a little shtetl of 100 families. This idea of commemorating salvation, where all our enemies wanted to destroy us, and we withstood them. We want to commemorate that. It's not so far-fetched. How do you commemorate it? What do you do? What about our tefillot? What do we abstain from on those days? Tachman, great questions. And a lot of analysis, and plenty of analysis is done already, and it will continue to be done. But the basic idea of commemorating the third redemption, that is going to be more powerful than commemorating even Zechirat Mizraim, that's clear from the Gemara. So one may say, but we don't have it yet. This is Reshit Tzmicha Gulatenu. Even according to my understanding, it's the beginning. It is not the final Gula, and that is true. So as of now, we're sort of in a holding period, thanking Hashem for this part of the redemption, for the brachot that He has showered upon us so far. We're thanking Him for that and feeling the karat hatov. And when we have the final redemption, all the Jews are home, Kibbutz Galion is completed, and we have the Sanhedrin back, and we have the Mashiach, and the Beit HaMikdash, and everyone is following the Torah and the mitzvot. The whole B'nai Vasi Kurushmech, and all the Gentiles recognize Hashem as well, and recognize Torah Misinai. Then when we have the redemption complete, then the commemoration of the third redemption of the Messianic era, that will truly trump and take priority and have more importance than Yetziat Mitzrayim. So people may argue about what exactly this specific period in history is, how positive it is. Is it a bracha? Is it redemption time? I believe it's the greatest bracha in 2,000 years, and I do feel it is redemption. I know many argue. And that argument will continue among all our holy brethren until the clear time of Mashiach, till we have the Mikdash and the Mashiach, and the Gadol Hador is clear, and the Sanhedrin. And we'll have lively debates till then. But once we have that period, then the Mishnah makes it clear in the Gemara that commemorating this magical moment of Kibbutz Galiot, of the Mikdash and the Sanhedrin, etc., will be the priority. May Hashem, may we be blessed to see the complete redemption speedily in our days. Amen. Shalom.